Much Papa, I'm Paige. I'm an alcoholic, and where we're picking up today is on page 72, and we're diving into the chapter Into Action, which, oh man, into action? What, you mean I gotta do things in this program? Like a program of action? Oh man, where's the into chilling out and just resting on our laurels chapter? Where's that? I'm looking for that. So into action. And actually, one of the things I will point out that is interesting about this chapter, not just its title, but you'll notice as you go through the first 164 pages of this book, and as we are doing together, there is a momentum that gets built. So we start with a couple of chapters on step 1. And then we dive into a chapter dedicated to step 2. Then step 3 and step 4 are in the chapter how it works. And now we're going to dive into talking about step 5. And step 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 are all going to be encapsulated and spoken about in this chapter, which tells us we're going to be building momentum, not just in how quickly, although it's me doing the study and I go on tangents, but how much momentum that we need to be moving with as we go through this work. So chapter 6, Into Action, page 72. It says, having made our personal inventory, and we can look at that a little like a checkbox. Did I do this? Have I written that inventory? If yes, check. If no, well, we got the directions. We should do that, Having made our personal inventory, what shall we do about it? And that's what we're doing. We are getting the directions on what we need to do. What do we do with this inventory? How do we do this work? How do we live this way of life? It goes on to say, we have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, and to discover the obstacles in our path. And one of the most incredible things about this paragraph, or this little sentence right here, is there's a whole lot of information. I don't know if you've ever come to meetings and heard, we don't know how it works. It is a mystery. And it's like, we have a chapter called How It Works. You know what I mean? It's not that mysterious. In fact, it's so mysterious, we hid how it works in the book that the fellowship is named after. You know what I mean? It's not like Treasure Island or whatever. But when it says we have been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, that is one of those beautiful, and I think a little sneaky, descriptions of a spiritual awakening. So if you've been coming to this study for a while, you know I love my sneaky prayers, I love my sneaky promises, and I love my sneaky descriptions of a spiritual awakening. And so when it says this is what we're trying to do, that is the solution that I am after in Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's okay if I'm here and I'm like, I don't want this. But the solution that I am after is a spiritual awakening, a spiritual experience, an entire psychic change, a change of the mind and the soul. Another way to say it is to get a new attitude, this change, this transformation from the inside out, as well as a new relationship with a power that is beyond ourselves. There is a power. I'm just blocked from it, or I seem to be cut off from it. And I really love the relational view. If that doesn't resonate with you, don't worry about it. Don't use it. Throw it out. We're saying the same thing a number of different ways so we can grab a hold of something that resonates with us so that we can take the action that will bring about the experience. All of Alcoholics Anonymous is experiential. What I am after is an experience. And the reason I resonate so strongly with the relational view of a power greater than myself is a relationship is something that has to start. I have to begin, but then I have to build it. And then I have to continue it and maintain it. Now, don't refer to your friends or your spouse as like, all right, I'm maintaining this friendship or I'm going to maintain this marriage. That's not going to land very well. But this idea that I need to continue to grow and seek and deepen, and that is what my relationship with a power beyond myself is like as well. And when it says, and to discover the obstacles in our path, that's the whole point of 4 and 5. The whole point of step 4 and step 5 is to illuminate the things that are inside of me that are not me, but that are blocking me from God, higher power, the creator, the spirit of the universe. So I begin to see what is blocking me from this power in step 4. Oh, absolutely. We're on page 72. I get an. Did you? Oh, yeah. I was like, did I just say ascertained out of nowhere? No, it's in the next sentence. I was like, man, if Rob's doing dictionary definitions based on words I'm randomly saying, like, man, he's on point, but that's on point, you know? But step 4 and 5, we're illuminating the things that are inside of me that are blocking me from this power, and they are not me. I'm illuminating, my selfishness, my self-centeredness, my fears, the resentments, and what's fueling the resentments. We're illuminating those defects of character. And then what we're going to do is we're going to become willing, and we're going to ask for them to be removed. And then we're going to go out and we're going to make amends, and we're going to clean up the harms that we've caused. And what that does is that begins to clear away the stuff that is inside me, that is not me, that is blocking me from this power. And that's how this thing works. Steps 4 through 9 is the vehicle. It is the engine that takes me to that place of spiritual awakening. And I got to stay on the road. Right, Mick? Our normal truck driver isn't here. He retired. So we gotta at least have one. Right? We'll tease Brian later. And so, I got to continue on this road. I've got to continue on this path. And that is what 10, 11, and 12 allow me to do, to continue on this path. So it says we have admitted certain defects. So again, this book, the book Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a book of mirrors. I'm not asked to believe anything. What I'm asked to do is I'm asked to hold up this book to the light of my experience. And I do that in step 1. Is this me? Do I have this? And I get to do this at many points in this book, especially when we talk about promises. And, oh no, that's the worst. There's nothing worse than when a pen runs out. Although it is very satisfying. Anyway, so we have admitted certain defects. Ask myself, after I've written my 4th step, is this my experience? Am I able to see certain defects? Am I able to see certain patterns? It says we have ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. And Rob put the definition for that in the chat a while ago, because I think he was optimistic I was going to move a little quicker than I've been moving. But that determined discover, we figured out, we've got a sense of what some of these defects of character are. And it says we have put our finger on the weak items of our personal inventory. So we've been able to see some of the things that are blocking us, some of these patterns, some of these behaviors, some of the stuff that we're like, yeah, I can't live with this anymore. And then it says, now these are about to be cast out. And I love the use of the language here. Cast out, which is taken from us, which is removed, which is different than I'm really going to be working on them and managing them, because I wasn't good at that. And so we're pointing to that deeper surrender that we get to experience in step 6 and step 7. When we're giving more and more of ourselves to the unconditional love that is God, higher power, the creator, the spirit of the universe. That's what we're doing. And it is taken from us. But it also says this requires action on our part. Oh man, it's almost like this chapter is called Into Action. Action! Oh, it's like this is a real action heavy program or something like that. Program of action, all right. Which, when completed, will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. And that's what the 5th step is. It is an admission. It is, some people might call it a bit of a confession. Now, I love the word admitted because there's 2 ways to look at that word admit. The first is like a confession, and I always use this as my example because I think it's funny. So the first is I have to admit, I have to confess that I stole your car, I slept with your husband, and I peed on your carpet. And the real ones know, I would never do that. It was linoleum. And so that's one way to look at the word admit, as a bit of a confession. But if you were to go to a sporting event, and now I'm like, oh no, do I call it football or soccer? Oh no, I'm just kidding. But we go to a sporting event, or for those of you that are like, I do not like sports, totally fair. A concert, a play, a movie, an event. We are given a ticket for entry. And on that ticket, what does it say? It says, admit one. So one way to look at the word admit is as if it is a confession, but another way to look at the word admit is a letting in. And the fifth step is also a letting in of ourselves, a higher power, and another human being. And that's what we're doing. And I also want to point out when it talks about the exact nature of our defects. Because what the heck is that? What is the exact nature of our defects? Is that different than my defects, my shortcomings, the exact nature of my wrongs? What is it? And what I have found is the more that I've experienced this book, this work, this way of life, the more simple it becomes. Doesn't mean it's easy, but the more simple it becomes. And so my defects, the exact nature of my defects, my shortcomings, and the exact nature of my wrongs are the exact same things. They are just those things that are inside of me that are blocking me from this power. And I'll point out why I feel that to be true. I mean, Bill Wilson said it was true. But we're not just going to do that appeal to authority and be like, Bill said it. So let's hold it up to the light of our experience. And in my experience, it doesn't make sense that I would admit one thing in my fifth step and then become willing for something completely different to go in my sixth step, and then ask for a third separate thing to be removed and relieved in my seventh step? Doesn't it just make the most sense that I would become aware of what is blocking me in step 5? And seeing that for what it really is, I would become willing for it to be removed in step 6. And in step 7, I humbly ask for all of that to go. That makes the most sense to me. Anywho. So it goes on to say, this brings us to the 5th step in the program of recovery mentioned in the preceding chapter. So that's what we're talking about, step 5, when we sit down with another human being and we share the contents of our inventory and any deep, dark secrets. And what I love about the book Alcoholics Anonymous is because it always meets me where I'm at. And then it takes me where I need to go. And we're going to spend a whole lot of time being met where we are at. We're going to spend like a page and a half being met where we're at and taken to where we need to go. And I promise there's very few people in the room today that came to Alcoholics Anonymous and saw the 5th step on the wall or on the Zoom screen or wherever you saw it and thought, oh boy, that sounds great. I'm an open book. I can't wait to share all the deep, dark things. I can't wait, That's the step. That's one of the steps we're most afraid of. I'm speaking in broad generalizations, because if you're like, no, I was afraid of a different step, that's okay. Don't stress about it. But what I have found typically is that most of us tend to be afraid of step 5 and step 9. And why are we afraid of step 5 and step 9 is because that requires that I be vulnerable. It requires a level of intimacy. It requires I share the truth about who I am. And the more that I share that, the more that you have to possibly reject me. And that's why I'm afraid. When we talk about our resentments, whenever we're writing 4-step inventory, who's first? Mom, dad, the ex, right? And we come to fears, what's first? Rejection, abandonment. And that's why we're afraid of the 5th step. So that's what we're going to get into is how do we overcome this fear of the 5th step? Why do we have to do the 5th step? That's what we're getting into, which, again, if the book can meet me where I'm at, meet me in my fear, meet me in my I don't want to do it, is it not possible that that is where God, higher power, the creator, the spirit of the universe, can meet us as well and take us where we need to go? So it says, This is perhaps difficult. Yeah, we're like, oh no, step 5, I don't want to do it. It's difficult. Especially discussing our defects with another person. We think we have done well enough in admitting these things to ourselves. And that's how we feel. You know what? I see it. I'm good. I don't need to take it to anyone else. I wrote that inventory. We're good. We're good. I see it. It's good. And then, so the book is going to meet us exactly where we're at, take us where we need to go. It says, there's doubt about that. In actual practice, now this is an important line, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. What that means is me trying to see me does not work. And not that it doesn't work in totality, but insufficient means it's not enough. It doesn't go deep enough. Eileen talks about, I can't read the label of the jar from inside the glass. You know what I mean? I'm stuck in here and I can't always see it clearly. So I need often another person's eyes. And it's an important reminder for me that if a solitary self-appraisal is insufficient in step 5, then a solitary self-appraisal is insufficient in step 10. When I catch these things as they continue to pop up in my life. And a solitary self-appraisal is insufficient in step 11. If I'm having stuff that pop up, so I need to build that community to take this inventory to have eyes and ears that aren't my own, because I'm in the mud. I can't always see it for what it really is. I can't see the lotus for the mud. Just thought of that. And some of you are like, I can clearly see the difference between mud and a flower page. Listen, I'm working in metaphors and they're just coming to me and we get what we get, and it's okay to get upset. But what we do is that we write inventory on me, and a solitary self-appraisal is insufficient, so we take that inventory to someone else. See what I did there? Boom, tied it in. It's a weird one today. So many of us thought it necessary to go much further. So we need to do more than just write inventory. We need to get somebody else's eyes and ears. And man, there is a beautiful, like the spiritual principle, the spiritual idea of, sharing honestly, confession, like getting honest about what has happened, what I've done. Like you see that in a variety of faith traditions all over the world. In fact, much of that was the earliest ideas of psychology, that like sharing what's going on. And so there's something that is true about this. And we're going to talk about this idea of the more that, like, what's our experience? Our experience is the more that I hold on to my secrets, the more that I hold on to these things, the more they grow. It's like they grow in the dark, like a black mold. It just grows and grows and grows. And what happens is if I let a little bit of light in, I invite that higher power, I invite that other person, that light comes in and it dissipates that shame, that guilt, and I'm able to see the situation as it really is. So it goes on to say, we will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see good reasons why we should do so. So we're going to be more open to doing a 5th step if you give me one good reason. Give me one good reason why I got to do a 5th step. I think it was Harry Tebow that called alcoholics emotionally immature, like King Baby, Give me one good reason why I got to do a 5th step, which, again, I love. Because I get to be emotionally immature, and the program, God, higher power, the creator, the spirit of the universe, the divine meets me where I'm at. A little childish and immature, and some of that I haven't grown out of, and will take me where I need to go. I don't have to get good to get this power. I just got to take actions that I don't think is going to help. So it says, the best reason first. The best reason first. This is the first reason, the best reason why I need to do a 5th step. It says, if we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. If I don't do a 5th step, it is very likely I will drink again. And we approach that often feels a little like a warning. Like, like this, oh no. And we saw a warning in step 4 as we wrapped up the 4th step. And the warning at the end of step 4 was, if I do not have a sex ideal that I do not live up to, and I continue to harm people in this area of my life, I will relapse. I will drink again. And we see this here, where it's like, if I skip this step, I may relapse. And this is not a new warning. In fact, it is a continuation of what our lived experience is in step 1. The step 1 experience is that I can't stay sober. I need to stay sober. I want to stay sober. I have to stay sober. The allergy of the body tells me that, like, man, I will drink. The allergy of the body tells me that once I start to drink, I cannot control the amount that I take. But the obsession of the mind tells me, but I will go back to it again and again and again. And the only thing that we have to prevent, that we found that works for us to prevent that relapse, to prevent that first drink, was a spiritual awakening. Nothing less than a spiritual experience, a spiritual awakening that I grow in, that I deepen, and I will drink again. And so it is a warning that if I don't do the stuff that brings about the spiritual awakening, I'm probably going to drink again. And so it says, time after time, newcomers have tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives. Now, what are the certain facts about my life that I would be keeping to myself? Well, it's not the time that I won a Nobel Peace Prize, It's not when I discovered a cure for cancer and I was so humble in feeding the homeless. I didn't do any of those things. Not that that isn't readily apparent and obvious. But that idea of, what am I keeping to myself? I'm keeping to myself my darkest secrets. I'm holding on to myself the deepest depth of my shame. The things that are growing that spiritual black mold, that's what I'm holding on. The stuff that I need to be free of the most. I can't live at peace and ease and have that dark shadowy monster rolling around within me, just popping its head back up and be like, hey, you're a piece of garbage and I'm still here. That I can't live free with that hanging around. Now, your monster might use more expletives, but I'm watching my profanity, All right. So it says, trying to avoid these humbling experiences, not humiliating. The 12 steps are bringing about true humility, but not humiliation. We are not shaming, we are not berating, but we're taking a course of action which, to be fair, goes against our human ego, because I want to win and I want to be the best and I want to be important and I feel that I'm not, so I'm the least important. That it goes against all of those sort of instincts that we have of being and doing and becoming more, and allows us to experience true humility. And we'll talk about that as we get to 6 and 7. That true humility is that I am no better than you, that I am no worse than you. And for somebody like me, that I am reliant upon a power greater than myself. That's what we get to experience. But trying to avoid this humbling experience, they have turned to easier methods. Oh no, an easier, softer way? I am shocked. An alcoholic? And what human being isn't looking for an easier, softer way? You know what I mean? And then what is the result? Almost invariably means pretty well always. So almost always they got drunk. So the result of not doing this, if I have the illness that is alcoholism that is outlined in this book, avoiding means that very likely I will drink again. It goes on to say, having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell. Why did I relapse? And for those that are new, or for those that are coming back, and for those that might consider themselves a chronic relapser, what I want you to know is that you're not relapsing because you're bad. You're not relapsing because you're not trying hard enough. You're not relapsing because you're broken irrevocably. The relapse is the symptom of alcoholism. You are relapsing because you are an alcoholic, which takes away that shame, which takes away that self-hatred. It's just alcoholism. We have a treatment for alcoholism. And that's what I got to hustle my bustle at going after. I have to go after that treatment for alcoholism, and I got to do it quickly, and I got to do it thoroughly, because that next relapse is coming. So it says, having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they fell. It says, we think the reason is that they never completed their house cleaning. If you guys remember in step 4, I had that metaphor of that hoarder's house. And in the 4th step, what we're doing is we're getting all that junk into bags and into boxes. And in the 5th step, we're taking all of that stuff out of the house. And if all I do is get my hoarding mess into bags and boxes, guess what? It's still in the house. I've got to get it out of the house. I have not completed cleaning the house. It goes on to say, they took inventory all right, but hung on to some of the worst items in stock. What are the things that I don't share in a 5th step, or I avoid sharing in a 5th step, or I'm afraid to share in the 5th step? It is the stuff that carries the most guilt and shame, and that is the stuff that is blocking me from this power more than anything else. And it goes on to say, they only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves, but they had not learned enough humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense that we find it necessary until they told someone else all their life story. That life story is that 4th step, the contents of the 4th step inventory and those deep, dark secrets. That's what we're talking about. And right when it says they only thought they had lost their egoism and fear, to the end of that paragraph, if you're making notes in your book, you can make a little note if you want that these are the Missy Elliot promises. Now, if you don't want to write that, that's completely reasonable. If you take that to a different big book study, they will be like, what are you talking about? Have you lost your mind? The answer for me is yes. But we're on a big yes and sort of kick over here. Yes and, you know? So if you guys remember in the early 2000s, there was the rap artist, I think she also R&B, her name, Missy Elliot. And she had a song that was called Work It. And in that song, she talks about, and a flip down, flip it, and reverse it. And then that flip down, flip it, and reverse it was reversed. And that's what we're going to do here. Now, in that book, or in that song, Work It, she also has a part where it says, you got a big, let me search it. And I am sure the only thing that she means is you've got a big book. Let me search it for clear-cut directions on how to recover. If you're thinking she's saying anything else, that's weird, and I'm just going to gaslight you about that. Shame, I'm just kidding. And then she's like, is it worth it? Let me work it. Absolutely, it's worth it. Let's work this program. Absolutely. So these are the Missy Elliot promises. And so what we're going to do is we're going to flip down, flip it, and reverse it. So when it says they only thought they had lost their egoism and fear, if that is what I experience, this false sense of losing egoism and fear that comes from not doing a 5th step or not being fully fearless and thorough in my 5th step, then what is the result, if I flip down, flip it, and reverse it, of being fearless and honest to the best of my ability in the 5th step? Well, I will lose my egoism and fear. And how absolutely, the freeing and powerful it is to lose fear. We saw that our whole lives were run by fear, shot through with fear. I was living a fear-based life. Oh yeah, I want to be free of fear. Now, when we talk about losing egoism, what we're talking about is some people might refer to it as the false self. That selfishness, self-centeredness, the 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity, that is what we're losing. Another way to see it is that bondage of self. That pain that we're in when it is like page on page, like bone on bone, and I can't see through me, and I can't see past my own pain. That is what we get to lose. And then it says, they only thought they had humbled themselves. Flip down, flip it, and reverse it. I do this to the best of my ability. I experience humility. I truly get to humble myself. And being in a humble place is so much better then on this like I'm imagining this like rickety scaffolding that's swaying in the breeze. You know, it is an OSHA safety hazard. I don't know what the workplace safety requirements are in the United Kingdom, but you know, it's not good. It is the rickety scaffolding of my ego and my self-importance and my pain. And we get to experience humility, which is to say I am on solid ground. And I might even say sacred ground. Now, if that doesn't resonate, get rid of it. Don't listen to me. And I am the sort of person that'll be like, yeah, flip out Missy Elliot and sacred ground in the same freaking paragraph. I know. So we get to experience that rooted, that groundedness. And then it says, but they had not learned enough of humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense we find it necessary until they told someone all their life story. Well, if I tell all my life story, I share the contents of my 4-step that is fearless, that is thorough, and I share those things that I don't want to share, those secrets I don't want to share, what will be the result? I will learn, and not in an intellectual way, not being cool like Rob and be able to put the dictionary definitions in the chat. You don't have to. I just wanted to call Rob cool, and that is not being facetious. But they have not learned. So I will learn in an experiential way, a heart level learning, a heart level knowing. Humility, fearlessness, and honesty. Isn't that where I want to live? I live in a place where I am humble. I am fearless. I am honest. Not I'm trying real hard to be those things, but it is. I am. That's what we get to experience. So those are what I like to call the Missy Elliot promises. I didn't ask her for permission, so maybe run it by her next time. Next time you see rap star Missy Elliot, as one does when they're going to the groceries or whatever. So it goes on to say, and don't worry, those aren't the only promises. Not just my page's little like weird ones. But we're going to see later on, not this week, but later on what we're going to see is the 5th step promises, and those are also powerful. I sort of rally against the idea that the 9th step promises are the only promises. Man, we got promises all over the book. We got ones that are explicit, but then we also got my sneaky ones, and y'all know I love my sneaky promises. So it goes on to say, more than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. Does this sound familiar? Hold this up as a mirror. Is my experience that I was living a double life, and here's what it looks like. He is very much the actor. Hey, wait a minute. When did I hear, or when did I have that experience about being the actor? Well, I was the actor in step 3, where I'm the actor trying to play the director to control the show and manage everything. Does that sound familiar? It is a metaphorical thread that is being shot through this book, that is building in this book. And it says, to the outer world, he presents his stage character. And if you're wondering, what is the stage character that I get to present, or I was trying to present? Semi-functioning adults. Ta-da! That's who I was. And listen, there is no pretense over here. I ain't it. I'm not a semi-functional adult. But that's what I was trying to present. I was trying to present that I am a functioning adult, that I am responsible, that or at least not so irresponsible that you need to intervene in my life and lock me up. You know what I mean? That was my stage character. Now, some of us have deeper stage characters. There's a well-known AA speaker who's since passed, and his name was Mark Houston, and he spoke of the theater of the lie. And the theater of the lie are these false identities. Now, they are identities, and it's important that I show up in those identities and roles, but I can't get so attached to those roles that I think they are who I am. And I'll put on that identity of, daughter, mother, sister, husband, brother, employee, guy that does CrossFit. I don't know. You can tell I'm like, I don't got a lot of these, but I will put on these identities as if they are me. And like the spiritual guy, like Miss AA, like all these different people who I think are me. And I'll tell you my experience. My experience is the most pain that I've ever experienced in my life. Or not, that's not true. Some of the most pain I've experienced in my life, because I've had worse. But it is incredibly painful when there is a huge distance and disconnect between the mask that I'm trying to portray. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be sober. That and what's really happening on the inside when I'm drowning and I am crumbling and I am falling apart. That is an incredibly painful place to be. And do I know what it's like to live there? No, I'm fine. Everything's great. I'm bringing home a paycheck, or I'm a good parent, or I'm a good this person. And that is what holds on to my sense of identity and sense of worth. And I'm just trying to hold on to it. And then is this me? This is the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it. I want to be seen in a certain way, but I know behind the scenes I'm not living up to it. I want to be seen as this type of person, but I'm falling short. And a large part of that is alcoholism. Not entirely, but I want to be seen as a certain way. And I'm not able to be seen as a certain way. Some of the not living up to it is just, these are things that I need power that I don't have to be a good person. But man, it doesn't help when I'm trying to drink away all my problems. And it says the inconsistency is made worse by the things he does on his sprees. To live with integrity is to be a person with consistency. I remember when I was relatively newly sober, an old timer, he's still around, and he would share, Paige, integrity means your yes means yes and your no means no. That's integrity, that consistency. But I'm not listening. I'm not speaking to you guys, because you guys were the most integrity-having alcoholics out there. But this little unintegrity, nope, that's not a word. We're rolling with it though. This little drunk behind the dumpster with the wet pants and the pinkies up though. I'm a lady. But that one, man, I was not living in integrity. And there's these times when I look back at who I was and how I was living, it's like, man, that's not me. And it says and that's actually what it's going to talk about, coming to his senses, he is revolted. At certain episodes, he vaguely remembers. Do you guys know that feeling of coming to, exactly, Eileen, she's got the revolted faces. But you guys know that feeling of coming to the morning after, and you're just disgusted with yourself. You hate yourself. I cannot believe I did it again. That feeling. The inconsistency is made worse by the things he does on his sprees. Coming to his senses, he is revolted at certain episodes he vaguely remembers. Vaguely remembers is a bit of a brownout. A blackout is when, lights, camera off, and then brownout is a vague recollection. These memories are a nightmare. He trembles to think someone might have observed him. As fast as he can, he pushes these memories far inside himself. He hopes they will never see the light of day. Is that my experience? Do I know what it is like to come to the morning after filled with that guilt, that shame, that remorse? And man, this might date me a little bit, but when I was drinking, cell phones weren't like not everyone had a cell phone. And I definitely did not have a cell phone. If I did, I would have lost it. So problem solved. I am so glad that I did not I was living under a bridge, but even still, I'm so glad I wasn't like coming to under the bridge and having to be like, oh no, delete, like delete things posted, delete messages, delete threads, delete conversations. So I don't got to look at it. I wasn't having people texting me, do you know what you did last night? Thank goodness. But do I know what it's like to wake up to those messages and just want to pretend that thing didn't happen? Do I know what it's like to just want to push it far inside of myself and pretend it was just a memory? And when this theme of when I push it far inside myself, it grows in that dark. If I don't deal with it, it's just going to grow, and it grows in the dark. But it dies in the light. And that's what we got to do. We got to let God, higher power, the creator, the spirit of the universe, the divine, that light in. That's what I've got to do. But this is the result of holding on to these secrets. This is the result of trying to keep these things to myself. It says he is under constant fear and tension. And the result is that makes for more drinking. You see, I'm living in that place of spiritual malady. Non-alcoholics, they have the spiritual malady too. But what happens is that spiritual malady cuts me off from that power, that constant fear and tension. It cuts me off from that power that I need. And when I'm cut off from that power, the obsession of the mind, that sober thought comes that tells me, you can do this again. You can drink again. Nobody will know. Just get it out of your system. And off I go. And so that's what we need to do. We treat that darkness at the depth of our soul. We treat that spiritual malady. We treat that constant fear and tension. We treat that pain. We treat that emptiness. We treat that loneliness. And we treat it with the spiritual awakening. And when we do, the obsession of the mind leaves. And when the obsession of the mind leaves, I don't have to take the first drink. I don't have to, because it's gone. And if I don't take it, I don't set off the allergy. It goes on to say, psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations. We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break. We have seldom, which means rarely, told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. And what I want to point out is we are the sort of people, now, at least where I live in the world, I think that on the lower end of the pay scale, to see a psychologist, it would be about $200 an hour nowadays. I think that's on the lower end. But we're the sort of people that will pay out of pocket $200 an hour to lie to somebody that's supposed to help us. You know what I mean? And then like, hey, have we done that? And then not only have we gone and lied when it says, like, we haven't told them the whole truth, and it's like, nor have we followed their advice. You know, were we doing the things they suggested? Absolutely not. Now, I will point out that people in medicine and psychology and psychiatry, if they suspect that somebody has alcoholism, do you know what they do? They take the number that we give them and they triple it. Which who told them? Who ratted us out? You know what I mean? They do that. It's wild. Rude. And then it goes on. We must be unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic men. We were honest with no one else. Small wonder many in the medical profession have a low opinion of alcoholics and their chance of recovery. Rude. Rude. What did I ever do except lie to you and make your job more difficult and trying to help me? Come on. Stop calling me out on my own behavior, will ya? It goes on to say, we must be entirely honest with somebody. We must be. And hey, I'm just going to throw it out. You know, we should open a window. It's a little musty in here. I thought there were no musts. But we must be entirely honest with somebody. It doesn't have to be everyone. But I must be entirely honest with somebody if we expect to live long or happily in this world. And that's where we're going to end it today. But what I want to talk about is my experience. My experience is I couldn't imagine anything worse than living my life the way I had been living it. A long, painful life, the way that I was living it. And it makes sense that if I have alcoholism, if I want to survive, you know, I genuinely, and I'm not being funny, like I genuinely have doubled my life expectancy. I should not be alive. Based on how I was living and how much I was trying to not be here, I should not be alive. And if I want to live a long life, it's like for somebody like me that has this illness at the depth that I do, I need to do this. But when it says, or happily, if I want a happy life, my experience is I've got to do this as well. So we'll leave it there, and we're going to pick up thereabouts next week, and I'll turn it over to you, Peppa. Thank you so much.